Hey guys. All right, so we are going to start with Chapter 1, Section 2. Here are your pretest questions. Point sources of pollution are dispersed and often difficult to identify. True or false? The answer is false. The average individual ecological footprint varies between areas or countries. True or false? This is true. The most effective way to deal with pollution is to focus on cleanup efforts. This is false. All right, notes. How are our ecological footprints affecting Earth? Now, you guys have or will be figuring out your own ecological footprints, and we're actually going to come back to that at the end of the school year so you can see how you've improved. So humans have the power to degrade or sustain Earth's life support system. We have all the power, so let's use it for good. With great power comes great responsibility. Over time, growth of ecological footprints depletes and degrades Earth's natural capital. The more stuff we use up and the more trash we make makes the Earth less good quality. So that's bad. So is there any good news? Yes. We have learned how to transform raw materials into useful goods and services. That's awesome. We have things that we can use. So that is good. Globally, lifespans are increasing and infant mortality is decreasing. So people are living longer and less babies are dying. Win-win. We have better food supply. We have better air and water quality. We have access to education and we have better disease prevention. So all of these things are increasing our lifespans and decreasing infants dying, which is before the age of 1. Some species and ecosystems are being successfully protected. So we need to work on a little bit more of that, but we're doing something. And technology is improving communication. The more communication we have, the more understanding we can have, and the better we can tackle problems. Humans, however, are living very unsustainably. As your eco footprint will show you, I don't think any of you are living underneath what one Earth would survive. If everyone on Earth lived like you, the average American would, if everyone on Earth lived like the average American, we would need 5 Earths. We don't have 5 Earths, we have 1. So we need to work on this. We have what is called environmental degradation. So when you degrade something, it's less good. So waste, dumping our waste, using up the materials, depletion, and degrading, making it a lower quality of natural capital. And then we have what is called tragedy of the commons. Tragedy of the commons is large numbers of people exploit a shared or open access resource unsustainably. Okay, that's a lot of words. What does that mean? You want the easiest example ever? When quarantine started, what happened with toilet paper? Everyone needed it. Everyone needed all of it. Large numbers of people were exploiting a shared open access resource, toilet paper, unsustainably, which means not everyone got what they needed. This happens naturally. Think of ways that this might happen in nature. 2 examples that I would give you would be fishing. We are overfishing the heck out of the ocean, so we need to work on that. And lumber, we're cutting down too many trees, usually to make more farmland, which we don't need. So those are both being done unsustainably and examples of tragedy of the commons. Human activities have overused about 60% of Earth's ecosystem services, mainly since 1950. So it's only been in this last little bit of time, not all of the history of the planet, that humans have really kind of stepped it up in not using our resources sustainably. Starting in the 1950s, consumerism became a thing and people needed stuff. They needed things to make them happy. And that's when the Earth started going downhill. Hopefully you guys can come to realize that you don't need as many things to make you happy and to focus on those experiences instead. All right, countries differ in resource use and environmental impact. More developed countries, only 17% of the world's population is a more developed country, and then 83% of the world's population is considered a less developed country. So they're middle income and low income. However, this natural capital degradation is happening everywhere, and it's resulting in things like air pollution, climate change, shrinking forests, degraded wildlife habitat, species extinction, aquifer depletion, declining ocean fisheries, and water pollution and soil erosion. All of these we will talk more about either in another chapter or a little bit more later this chapter. So pollution causes environmental problems. Pollution, nice simple definition: contamination of the environment by any polluting substance, which is the pollutant. So you can have chemicals, you can have noise, you can have heat at levels that are considered harmful to health, survival, and activities of organisms. So it's a fairly, anytime something impacts something's livelihood. So you can be naturally occurring, like a volcano, or you can be contributed by humans, such as the burning of fossil fuels. Sources of pollution. You can have what's called a point source, or you can have a non-point source. Point source, super easy. You can point to it. So a single identifiable source from which pollutants are discharged. A smokestack, a motor vehicle, a car, chimneys, drainage pipes. You can say this smokestack, this car, this chimney, this drainage pipe is making the pollution. A non-point source is much more dispersed and difficult to pinpoint. So examples would be runoff from farm fields. You can't say this specific area. No, it's the 200 acres of farms that are doing it. Trash in streams, or a deposition of air pollutants. So pollution comes up, pollution comes back down. You can't be like, look at this particle in the air. No, it's all over. So how are we dealing? We get two ways. One, clean it up. After you've done it, you can clean it up. Yeah, you can clean up your room when it gets trashed. It can be done, and you can sometimes get it back to the way it used to be. So you can either dilute the pollutants, you can reduce the pollutants, whatever you need to do to get rid of them. Or the better choice would be to not pollute in the first place. So find ways to reduce pollution or stop pollution before it even happens. Yes, you can clean up a trashed room, but it's easier to not trash a room in the first place. And this is, so reduce or eliminate the production of pollutants through whatever means that is, and that we will definitely be talking more about this year. Ecological footprint. If you have not figured out yours, you'll be figuring it out shortly. Ecological footprint. The amount of land and water needed to supply an individual or a population with renewable resources and to absorb and recycle waste and pollution from resource use such resource use produces. So it's all of the land and water and stuff that you need to support your lifestyle, as well as all of the ecosystem services need to absorb all your trash and all your waste. So that's two parts. You're making stuff, you're using stuff, and you're leaving stuff behind. Growth of ecological footprints leads to degradation of natural capital, and it results in the creation of pollution, which is bad. It's not going. Oops. There we go. Ecological deficit. So they're growing. An ecological deficit occurs when the ecological footprint is larger than the biological capacity to replenish resources and absorb waste and pollutions. So think of this like a credit card. You can use your credit card, don't get credit cards, but you use your credit card and you rack up credit, and now you have a debt. At some point, you're going to need to pay that debt. So we are currently in an ecological deficit. We have created this huge debt that we owe the earth. So we need to stop using up all of its resources, and we need to stop putting all the waste into the planet the way we have been, because the earth is definitely cashing in on that deficit. An ecological deficit indicates that humans are definitely living unsustainably, which we will once again talk about a lot this year. Globally, humans are running up a huge ecological deficit that is expected to keep growing. So that's why things like this class are happening. So hopefully you guys can realize that maybe we can do our part to reduce this human deficit. IPAT is another environmental impact model. In the early 70s, a new environmental model called the IPAT model was developed to determine the environmental impact of human activities. So IPAT is the environmental impact, I, is the population, times affluence, times technology. Oops. So I'll talk about those. I thought there was another slide. So environmental impact is obviously the impact on the environment. Population. The more people you have, the more impact you're going to have. The less people, the less impact. Affluence is money. The more money you have, the less you seem to care about stuff, generally. Because you can just, if your jet is broken, just buy a new jet. It's no big deal. Oh, my third yacht broke, just throw it out. The more money you have, the less the more disposable things get and the more damage you can do without really thinking about consequences. People just pay their fine and move on. The less money you have, the more reusable you tend to be. You tend to have a smaller set of things, but you take better care of them. So you're going to have much less impact on the planet. And then technology, which could be good or bad, depending on how that technology is used. All right, questions. Let's see what you learned. Which of the following qualifies as a point source pollution? Sewer pipe, dumping raw sewage into a stream, fertilizer runoff from agriculture fields, exhaust from vehicles in a county, solid waste from consumers in a city, or pollutants emitted by power plants in a region. What do we got? Answer is A, because you can point to that sewer pipe that is dumping raw sewage into the stream. Which of the following is the primary cause of the tragedy of the commons? Each individual has little stake in common resources. Each individual has an enormous stake in common resources. Humans are way more selfish when they are being observed. Humans are more selfish when they are free of government intervention, and humans are more selfish when they are subject to government intervention. So what this is humans have, each individual has little stake in common resources. So if it doesn't necessarily affect you directly, you tend to not care as much. So we need to work on caring more. And then which of the following would decrease the T factor in the IPAT model? Pollution control technology, wind power, fuel efficient cars, coal burning power plants, or solar energy. Solar energy would actually decrease how much technology is being used because you're using the sun, which we get for free. So that would decrease it. And I'm pretty sure, yep, you have survived Chapter 1, Section 2. See you later, guys. Bye.